All right, welcome everybody. This is the November 24th meeting for the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation Off-Highway Vehicle Advisory Council. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's go do a roll call of all of our attendees. I'm going to start how I see it on my screen, and then we'll go from there. So, Wade?
Yeah, present.
Okay, Nicole?
Hi, everybody. I'm here.
And then we've got another Nicole.
Nicole Hanna, Counsel for DOR.
Yeah, okay. And when you introduce yourself, tell us your position too for the record as well. So let's do that. Go with Maureen. We can't hear you, Maureen.
Sorry. DOR Contracts and Compliance Manager.
Okay, David.
OHV Council, BLM representative.
Okay, Rachel.
Rachel Toker, OHV Recreation Grant Analyst with the Division of Outdoor Recreation.
Brett.
Brett Davis, full-size four-wheel drive representative.
Mike.
Mike Cook, OHV Council Safety Representative.
Okay, Brody.
Brody Johnson, ATV Representative.
Cheryl.
Cheryl Butler, I'm the Forest Service rep.
And let me keep going here. We've got Jason.
Division of Outdoor Recreation, Division Director.
Okay, let me see who I don't have on here yet. Did I see Scott Wheeler?
Scott Wheeler, the OHV Council representative, off-road dirt bikes.
Sheriff Curtis?
Sheriff Curtis, Sevier County Sheriff, and I'm the search and rescue representative with the OHV Council.
Okay. I also see Russ.
Yeah, Russ Kazare with Trust Lands Administration. I'm a surface lease manager.
Okay. And I think Brett Davis. I think you're the, oh wait, we've got Anna Sprout.
I'm Anna Sprout. I'm the former responsible recreation manager for Grant County and new executive director of Steward Moab.
Okay. Good to have you. And let's see, other Brett.
Brett Stewart, Utah OHV Advocates.
Okay, looks like we've got Jacob Hinton. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey, it's Jacob Hinton, Lieutenant with OHV Vehicle Program.
Okay, am I missing anybody? All right, welcome Russ to the council. I think this is your first meeting and we're looking forward to having you involved in this. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. Happy to be a part of it.
And thank you everybody else for joining tonight. Okay, I think we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead to our first action item, which is 1.3, approval of the August 20th, 2025 meeting minutes. So we need a motion on that.
This is Brody. I motion that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second it as well. This is Sheriff Curtis.
Okay, motion by Brody, seconded by Sheriff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item, we've got information on the OHV education program from Deirdre Miller. Is she on? I didn't see her.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Okay. Excellent. Take it away.
So I'm just giving I believe I'm just giving an update on the position that we're looking at hiring. Is that correct, Jason?
Tell me, Rachel or Wade.
Yeah, not so much that, Deirdre. We just kind of wanted you to introduce yourself to the council
I see.
and the role you play with the OHV program. And I just wanted you to be a familiar face on how people can get a hold of you and a little bit about what you do with the program.
Thank you, Wade. I appreciate that. So yes, my name is Deirdre Miller. My position title is the Education Program Manager for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. I focus primarily on off-highway vehicles with Wade, and then I also work with the boating program with Ty Hunter. And within that work, we handle the education courses that are both mandatory and those that we just supply throughout the state. Those being both our online courses and our in-person courses. And then, yeah, if anyone ever needs to reach me, I'll give you my cell phone direct line. So it's 385-835-2339. So anything to do with, courses, education, getting the word out. Something that I'm really proud of is our hands-on course that we're offering throughout the state. So if you ever want that in your region or area, you can reach out directly to me via that call, or you can email me as well. And my email is dmiller, that's Delta Miller, MILLER @utah.gov. So yeah, if you ever need to reach out about questions within that realm, I'm happy to coordinate and work with anybody that I can to help.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for Deirdre from the board?
So Jason, let me jump in real quick. If any of the council out there in their individual communities need some outreach for education, Deirdre would be a great resource for you if you wanted to do some OHV classes in your counties where you're at, or if you have a community meeting or anything like that you need to involve some sort of safety aspect. Deirdre has different lessons and different presentations and things that she can present. So she would be a very good resource to your smaller counties and to your county commissioners. I know she just had a class in Green River last weekend, and she had there was 9 students in it, which is pretty good for an in-person class. Our in-person class numbers are down a little bit compared to what you can take online, but 9 was pretty good. And Deirdre is also a certifier, and I'm sure she would be more than glad to help in that process in any of the counties as well.
Do you have a schedule, Deirdre, of places that you're going in person that's posted publicly?
Yes, so generally we will update that on our hands-on landing page, which I'm happy to share with Rachel, so that could go into our notes for today's meeting so everyone can find that easily. But yes, we generally get those posted. Our goal is to do 2 months in advance. But for example, that Green River one was something that came up a little bit more quickly. So we only had about 3 weeks turnaround time. But we frequently will post those in our newsletter as well. I'm going to do a plug of being part of the marketing comms team. If everyone isn't already on our newsletter, please go ahead and sign up, because that is where we like to announce those dates. But yes, anytime we have a date come up, it immediately is added to our hands-on landing page.
And you're focused mainly on the youth training, or is it more than that?
Correct. So we primarily focus on youth hands-on training, but just as Wade mentioned, we also do trainings for volunteers, sheriff's offices, to get them instructor certified so they can go out in their own communities and train students in their area.
Excellent. Any other questions from council members?
This is Brody. I do have one question. Are you going to be the clearinghouse for all the trainings in the state? So if a sheriff's deputy in one county does a training, will that deputy be reporting names and the dates and what that, or will you not be tracking that, or how is that tracked?
That's a great question. So if it is to fulfill the mandatory education requirement for the state, yes, they would need to be certified through us, through our division. And yes, we do keep track of all of our instructors. And then we also keep track of the students, and all of that is protected data that we're very mindful to keep private. And so yes, that is stuff that we keep track of, and make sure that we are tracking our instructors, making sure they're up to date on their instructor training and pieces like that.
All right, well, thank you. Good answer. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you, Deirdre, for taking the time, and we're looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better and hopefully getting involved in some of these trainings. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is an information item. This is adult OHV education course, and Wade, it looks like you've got this one.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to reach out to the council. You know, the adult course has been out for a couple of years now, and it's kind of a one-time course, and it's very easy, it's very quick, it's informative, and I believe it's serving the purpose that was intended behind the statute. My question for the council is everybody happy with it? Do we want to see, any changes in the course, or are we good for another couple years the way it is? I just wanted to, I met with Jason, and he wanted me to get some feedback from you guys if we needed to, stay the course with the current one, or if we wanted to add anything else to it, or just wanted to get some input back from the council if we needed any changes with that course.
How much non-compliance have we seen out in the field?
I would let Jacob answer that, but I do know we have a ton of people taking it. I've seen numbers. Well, in fact, our numbers actually exceed the number of registrations that we have, because when we're talking OHVs, those have more than one drivers often. Like we have one, I drive it, my wife drives it, so we both took the class. But we've had over 300,000 people take the course. But as far as out in the field, Jacob, do you have any information on that?
I can answer that. So we actually have quite a few individuals that are very compliant with it. We see very few numbers that are not. So it's actually pretty surprising, and we get a lot of good feedback of it, and a lot of the public is super excited to show their cert, like, hey, look what I got. I can show it to you, either the digital form, or their, we always love it when they pull it out of their wallet and show us there as well. But for the most part, we don't see that very often. We do, we'll see it sometimes with renters, depending on the company that they're renting it with, and how they were able to get that machine. So,
okay.
I think what's been effective, in my opinion, as a user, it's a quick course, it's painless, it's informative, and it's just easy to do. I made a copy of it, laminated it, and I taped it to the inside of my helmet. But yeah, let's go on to some questions. Let's see, Brody, we'll go to you, and then Anna, we'll let you jump in with a question.
My only thing that I'd like to see is a little more on the laws pertaining to OHV use, and maybe even some of the and I don't want it to turn into a consequence thing, but people don't know what the consequences are when it gets right down to it. You could go out into the field and come across somebody riding an ATV and ask them the question. They wouldn't have the foggiest idea. So I'd like to see more on the law side of it, the penalties for taking larger machines up 50-inch trails, things like that. That's what I'd like to see. If you added anything, that would be it.
Would you scrap the entire course and redo it, or do you think we could add something to the end of this course?
I would add something into it, just kind of pertaining to some of the laws that are the most important ones of them all, and the consequences for not following those laws. And again, I don't want it to be a gotcha type of a thing, but if people don't know, they don't know. And we don't need to have like, subsection this, code that. But, what happens if you are caught riding in the wrong place? What are the penalties for that? What are the penalties for failing to this or failing to do that or whatever? Just some basic, simple laws that most people that ride OHVs have common sense and know this, but there are also a number of people that don't, especially people from out of state or younger people that just don't understand the laws as it regards to OHVs, that, hey, I could do what I want, doesn't matter. Well, here's the law, here's the consequence, here's the potential fine for that, or the loss of a machine, a record. It'd be kind of good for people to know what those are.
So you're thinking we could go with the same course, and at the end of it, maybe we could bring in our law enforcement guys and talk a little bit about the code and.
Sure, and then add a question or two or three to the end on that.
Okay. Thank you, Brody. Anna, did you have a comment?
I do. One thing I will say about this course is that it really helps to open the conversation on the ground, because folks have already seen a lot of this information related to human waste, related to biocrust, and some of these practices that help protect the trail. So it's a really good icebreaker for those of us that work in the field, having those conversations on the ground. Just want to throw my appreciation out there.
Thank you.
Mike, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just had the thought while you were talking about that, if you can add that to the DWR license plate where you keep your boating certificate for your quagga mussel and everything, that'd be pretty handy if you could add that, be able to put that education certificate on that to where it's on your phone. I wouldn't think that would be too hard to do, to get with them to where you can add that education to certificate to that app.
Okay.
Hey,
Scott,
let me answer
you've
that
got-
real quick too. Sorry, but you currently can get it on your phone. It's not the same app. I think that's a good idea, but just FYI, there is a Utah ID app that you can use, and maybe we will explore the DWR app as well.
Okay. Utah ID app.
Yeah, Jacob, do you remember what that is? I know you and Chase were kind of working on that, and can't remember
Yes,
what the last
those are the
progress report.
ID. So everyone should have received an email that currently has a certification to be able to download on their phone. If they don't, we can reach out to the vendor and then resend them an email so they are able to download that on their phone. I do know previously with the DWR app, there was some conflicting issues with that and some parameters that this wouldn't fit into. So I think that was some of the issues of why that couldn't go onto that DWR app. But I can look into that and follow up with Wade.
All right, Scott, you had your hand up.
Yes, the question I have, we used to do hands-on training for all youth that, were going to ride an OHV, and that was several years ago. Has anybody ever kept track or even analyzed if the safety end has improved, or it went downhill when we did the hands-on training.
So I'll let Deirdre jump in if she's not here. Maybe she's left, but I remember that was the question when it first came out, when Fred Hayes came and met with the Airpine Trail Council. And that was the question we asked at that time. And he said the statistics was there was virtually no difference between a hands-on class and the online class. And I've spoken with Deirdre a couple months ago, and that's kind of the same take that we've got here, is that there's really no difference between the online and the hands-on class. And keep in mind, the ATV class that we have, the on hands, is just for ATVs. It's not designed for motorcycles, and it's not designed for UTVs. It's an ATV class.
Yeah, verify Utah. So, and another point of clarification on this too, we don't have good records. There's nothing that compels a law enforcement agency that takes a report to report that up to the state. If it was handled by a ranger, or some of the, like, I know some of the sheriff's offices have been very good in reporting, so it's hit and miss. That's the other thing. We don't have great data, but I think going forward, and maybe Sheriff, you can chime in on this. I think going forward, we'll have a lot better reporting on this.
Well, and I'm just jumping in. This is Deirdre again, way to answer your question. So we don't, and to echo Jason's point, we don't have the numbers right now to really prove something one way or the other. But I can say, and I would assume there's many on this call right now who can attest to this, that there is something to be said about those hands-on students. There is that anecdotal experience of before seeing them nervous just to start their machine, and then by the end of that course, they've traversed the hill and they're feeling this confidence that I think the hands-on experience gives you, that, you know, and I can attest to this. I did all the book learning before I went and actually drove the first time, and there's something to be said about that in-person experience. But yes, until we are able to quantify it, we really only have qualitative data in terms of people's experiences, but no hard numbers.
Deirdre, do you have the numbers of that took the course for 2025 in person by chance?
I can pull that up for you in the next couple minutes while y'all.
Yeah, can you give us a comparison on how many took it online and how many took it individually?
Oh,
in
online.
person?
I can share with that, just in terms of quantity. We're talking hands-on in-person classes. We're looking at 120 students so far this last year, versus online, we're talking thousands of students have taken the online course.
What type of person do you find that takes the on or the in-person course? Is it somebody who as a family is a little newer to OHVs? Would you find that is who we more cater to, rather than people that have, you know, grown up with them and spent lots of hands-on time with them, and now it's time for the kid? What do you have any demographics on who you feel takes the class?
That is a great question. And I wouldn't feel too confident, just because I do have plenty of instructors now going out. But based on last year's, I would say many of them are aware enough that they've heard about the classes. And I think that's been the struggle, is getting the word out to the totally new to ATV riding. So that's been that barrier we're trying to get across. And I think we've hit that just in working with Intermountain Healthcare. They're able to hit a demographic that is different than our own within our marketing and comms team already.
Okay, excellent.
Jason, I think we had one more question. I think Brody had a hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Brody.
Well, I just looks like I got an answer, but about adding it to the driver's license as an endorsement or to your state ID. It says from Jacob, we cannot add it, but it seems like maybe that we could figure out how through the legislature to add it. And then as to the safety, it may not, and hands-on may not show an increase in safety, but it also, I think, gives an opportunity for the instructor to to share a little bit more about ethics and how to be an ethical rider. Whereas I would bet that there are a lot of these kids that are mom and dad's taking the test for them, and the kids aren't even watching the video. And so I would assume that that's probably the case, because I've actually heard that's kind of happening. And so just, I think hands-on is more powerful in that way.
Okay, thank you, Brody. David, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wondered if there's ever a thought of making people recertify after a certain time period, every 5 to 10 years, or are we just having them do it once and done?
I believe, David, the way the statute is right now, it's a once and done. I think it would probably require some amendments to statute.
Okay. I was just thinking about this because I just helped my son, work on his driver's license, and he was asking me the questions from the driver's test. And I was like, I don't know. I should know this. I've been driving a vehicle for a long time. So I realize you don't have to recertify when you go get your driver's license renewed, but maybe that's a thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Wade about the adult OHV education course? Okay, thank you, Wade. Now we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. This is the Trail Ambassador Program update.
Yeah, so I reached out to Anna. You guys just met Anna here briefly just a second ago. She jumped on. Anyway, I just reached out to her a couple weeks ago. I wanted to give the council a little update. We all remember back to our last meeting in the grants that the council recommended funding for a year, and there was some problems with going out from the county and being a nonprofit. And I just wanted to give the council kind of an update on where that process is right now. And Anna asked if she could do it, and I said perfect. So floor's hers.
Awesome. Well, hello everyone. If I haven't met you yet, I'm excited to today. I am the former responsible recreation coordinator for Grand County. I developed the Moab Trail Ambassador Program, which includes 4 different areas of recreation: hiking, biking, climbing, motorized, and OHV. So I was part of that initial request, I believe in 2023, got it going off the ground, hired Kelton, and now we have a robust education program. There's been some challenges with funding the Trail Ambassador Program within the county, and so it's transitioning out of the county and into a nonprofit that I'm now the executive director of. We're called Steward Moab, and our mission is to foster responsible connection to Moab's public lands through education and collaborations that protect and enhance non-motorized and motorized recreation experiences for all. It's a long mission, but it does reflect our current work within the Moab Trail Ambassador Program. Some of you came out and saw that this past spring. Like I said, I'm the executive director, and then we also have our program manager, Mariah Ward. She and I have been with the program since 2021, and we built it up to what it is today. We're hoping to have Ryan Lowe, who is going to be our OHV lead. He was trained by Kelton to operate out in the field. Kelton is actually going to be one of our board members. So while the team is kind of reorganizing, it's reorganizing in a way that keeps all of our specialists with some sort of leadership role. It's confirmed that in 2026, we have $150,000 for the year separated quarterly for essential staffing. Essential staffing is myself and Mariah. And then we're transitioning our physical and non-physical assets into our new office soon. And then the OHV program is getting reorganized specifically Kelton is going to stay with the county for OHV trail work coordination. That includes the Can-Am Defender, which was intentionally purchased for program growth within trail work. The OHV education program is coming with us with Steward Moab, and so that includes the Can-Am Commander, which we will have a permanent MOU with the county for, which allows us to continue programming. It continues that cohesive experience across user groups, because we know that OHV does hike and hike does OHV. And then how the OHVR grant, and we've worked with Maureen and Rachel to talk through this, how the 2025 OHVR grant is going to work is the county expressed a desire to keep OHV trail work coordinator and tools, and then we would be taking the education portion of that, which includes the spill kits and the waste kits, as well as part-time staff hours for 2025. So that allows us to continue staffing, continue with our essential staff like Ryan Lowe, who has been with the program since 2024 at this point, 2023. It's a very clean reorganization, and we're excited to continue forward into 2026 with this new format. And if you have questions, I'm here to answer.
Excellent. Thank you, Anna. Just one question. Do we have issue with this as moving forward in the future? Do we have issue funding this as a nonprofit? I know that our nonprofit rules state that it has to be an OHV education. Do we have any direction on that, Wade?
I feel pretty comfortable with it because they are carrying the core concept and staff from the TA into this new nonprofit. If it was just being started up, I would say, let's get some experience behind us. But where they're carrying the key people over, it's the same people, just a different name.
Okay, thank you, Scott. You've got a question.
Anna, the only question I have is this all set in place, or are we still juggling a little bit before it's actually totally put in place?
No, Scott, we are here. It's forward, and so probably the most challenging part, and on the other end of it. And so right now, December is all about continued fundraising for 2026 and starting up our grant writing so that we can have a good for 2027.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes.
I think I'm excited.
Cheryl, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's great to hear from you, Anna. I feel like that's been so much work for you guys to get to the place that you're at already so quickly. When we met, I was like, whoa, that could be quite the change, but I definitely think it's exciting. I look forward to what you and your group are going to do under this new nonprofit. So
thank you. Yeah, I do want to make it clear to folks that it was pretty essential that I transition with this program because of all the partnerships and relationships that I carry. We built this out with the input from various agencies, including the Division of Outdoor Rec. And I carry the knowledge, and I think some of you came out this spring. I carry the organization for it as well. So it is a pretty important part of our program that we do continue the separation of funds, just like we have in the past, making sure that we adhere and follow through with all of the expectations of this grant, which I think I've proved before and we're going to continue with in the future.
Excellent. Well, we're glad that you've landed on your feet.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and to grow.
Great. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our next item on the agenda, which is number 5, council requests. These are requests, I believe, that were sent in to discuss for this meeting from different members of the council. And so we'll go ahead and let Rachel and Wade take that and go ahead.
Rachel, do you want to share your screen with everybody? I'm on a different computer because I can't get the sound to work on my state one.
Yeah, I should be able to. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I have the right tab.
I think most of you should have had a copy of what she's putting on. She emailed it out. So if you guys need to pull up your emails, you should have a copy of it. I just kind of wanted those out there who are joined us, it's not part of the council, to be able to visualize what Rachel's talking about. So thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so this was emailed out earlier today and that is on the public notice website. I updated it briefly before this call, so we have the most up-to-date version of it on there. But yeah, these are all the questions that the advisory council sent in, and these are our responses, and we've done some digging and research on some stuff. We're still kind of figuring out some of the numbers, but it's the most up-to-date and accurate information we have to provide for everyone. So I guess I can roll with this, and Wade, if you just want to jump in where necessary, I'd appreciate that.
You bet.
Okay, so yeah, question 1 was, how can the OHV program utilize the council's knowledge more effectively? What are your additional, pretty much what we're asking is, what are your additional concerns and how would you like to be more effective in the program? Our ideas are to provide more information on the legislative session and additional meetings. We're thinking either quarterly or every 2 months to make sure that we're really involving the council on things. But we'd really like to hear from everyone on the council and their insight on this.
So you guys have got about 6 or 7 months with me as the manager. You know, I'm welcome to suggestions on how I can improve. And I think you got kind of a flavor of kind of my direction, but this is your council and I'm here to serve you. Like I said, we decided to come up, Rachel and I come up with a couple of our own ideas, but I'd sure love to hear if you guys have any additional ideas that we can improve on.
Go ahead, Scott.
Down at the bottom, it says talking about quarterly meetings and 2 every month. I'm thinking if we meet twice for our grants a year and then have 2 sessions where we discuss issues like tonight, that would be 4 times we met a year. I would think that would be plenty. And then what the connection Wade is, Wade has sent out a lot more information to kind of keep us abreast of what's going on. And I'm not sure we need any more than 4 meetings a year.
Perfect. Yeah, if there's any other input, we'd appreciate that. I know that we have for 2026, we already have scheduled out. They're not officially scheduled on anyone's calendars yet, but we have the dates reserved for the 2 grant cycles. And I think that maybe between those, we should also have those 2 additional meetings.
You've got a comment?
Yeah, I'm recalling a prior meeting we had, we talked about doing a regular update during the legislative session to give the council sort of a play-by-play, and maybe like, I think it was a weekly update. Like, here are the bills that are of interest to the OHV community, and here's the status. I mean, it may not be any bills at all, maybe 1 or 2, but that was something we talked about and want to make sure we're going to follow through on that if that's something the council wants, not necessarily a meeting, but just a kind of an update on a semi-regular basis.
Jason, are you aware of any out there? I know India sent me something on some registration of the OHVs. I got to dig into it. I don't think it's a big impact. Do you know of anything on the radar out there? Have you heard any rumblings of any OHV legislation out there that you can forecast at all?
No, but it's really early. You know, there are probably a couple that touch the community and that we want to keep tabs on, or would be interesting to just at least track. But as things ramp up, I'm sure, yeah, I expect to see a handful of bills come out just prior to and during the first part of the general legislative session here in 2026.
I think that's a good idea, Jason, and I'll do my best on if something comes up to give, updates weekly if possible on those. Just so the council knows, I sat in on a meeting about a month and a half ago on e-bikes with a representative, and e-bikes is kind of a big deal. We won't go down that rabbit hole tonight, but I was able to sit in on that meeting, and it was kind of a preliminary meeting, and it was nice to be able to say, we do have plenty of resources and statute that governs the use of e-motorcycles. So anyway, there is those meetings that go on a little bit too, but I'll keep the council informed.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Of course, when I try to use it, it doesn't work. There we go. Okay. So I think part of this was explaining the difference between the dedicated and non-dedicated funds, how revenue flows into the non-dedicated fund and what each fund is used for. Jason Curry, I don't know if this is something that you want to touch on, just because you work so heavily with the legislative session. You probably have the best understanding out of any of us when it comes to this. Do you feel comfortable explaining this?
Well, yeah, a little bit, but just as a caveat, this is not an official term, dedicated, non-dedicated. But I think it's something that will help the council and help in our conversations so that people, if these state budget, I've been working for the state for 26 years. The state budgeting and state finance process can be just confusing. It's confusing to me oftentimes. I fully admit it. And so if we can do anything to help you guys understand how money flows, where it comes from, where it goes, and what the process is, we want to do that. So dedicated and non-dedicated, and this is kind of something that Wade has been referencing, and there are funds that are specifically appropriated by the legislature. For example, the funding that pays for Deirdre's position, we just heard from. Deirdre's position, it would be considered in that dedicated fund where it was the legislature at the same time as the trail crew did an appropriation to pay for that position. Same thing with the trail crew money, the $400,000 that goes towards their budget every year, that would be in that dedicated category. The grant money, all of the money that we have appropriated for distributing in grants, that would be dedicated. I think this other bucket, so to speak, that the non-dedicated that's the money that is more discretionary and not specifically appropriated. So that includes Wade's salary. It includes a small portion of a lot of our support staff salary. So our communications person, our finance team, and our administrative people. Those positions are shared amongst a bunch of different programs. So the OHV non-dedicated, so to speak, we are appropriated that money and we are authorized to spend it, but it isn't, it's not dollar for dollar line item. So we do have some discretion in how that all sort of lines out. Wade, anything else on this slide? Any questions?
No. I think you had it. I'd throw it out to the council to see if they have any follow-up.
That kind of sounds a little vague to me, but I mean, just kind of like the OHV program, the staff, and whatever kind of fits into that. Is that what you're saying, Jason?
Yeah. So all of our basically personnel costs that aren't trail crew. And so that includes Wade's salary, Jacob's salary. Whenever I'm doing OHV stuff, me. So there is a portion that is just drawn and used for salary purposes. Also the portion that goes towards the Division of Law Enforcement to pay the rangers for their time that they spend on OHV patrols.
So most of it's non-dedicated funds then that come in here then.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I'll tell you guys, this is Sheriff Curtis, that sometimes when you look at dedicated, non-dedicated, it also depends if they're base budget or not. Some of them could come and go and they're not guaranteed. So like some items, if they are in the base budget, then they are guaranteed and it's mandatory they spend it on that.
That's
But
correct.
where some of our funds are totally dependent on other sources to come in, the registrations, things like that, it could go away too. So legislature could say, hey, we see a need. We're not going to send any more money this way. We need to reroute it for something else. They can do that. So those would be more of your discretionary funds, your non-dedicated. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good addition.
Does that help? So I will agree. The state and their budget is a nightmare to manage.
Yeah, it's hard, and we've got some knowledgeable finance staff that helps try to keep it straight. And we've been in meetings. We had a 4-hour meeting the other day on the OHV budget, just to try and clarify, now, where's this bucket money coming from? Where's it going? Are we allowed to spend money on that? Yes, or I mean, we track it closely. They've done a good job, but I know there's questions when it comes to how much of it we're using for the Division of Law Enforcement. Those funds are obviously authorized. We've been authorized to use those funds for law enforcement ever since the 70s, and it's been in statute ever since. But how much of it we're committing to the Division of Law Enforcement, that's something we want to keep an eye on and keep tracking and make sure we're applying an appropriate amount. And like I've said before, we're not paying rangers to go do state park work. We're not paying rangers to go do wildlife work or boating work with the OHV fund. We're paying them to do OHV work. So that's primarily patrols and education. Jacob, you can chime in as well, just to kind of give people a full picture of what is done with those funds when they go to the Division of Law Enforcement. But overall, that non-dedicated side is basically, as Sheriff Curtis put it, our base budget. So what we have been appropriated to pay for our day-to-day operating costs, including staff time, equipment purchases. So if we need a new machine, those types of things.
Okay. Rachel sent me a text and said, I got to keep everybody moving, because my goal is to have you out of here at 7:30. So let's go to the next slide, Rachel.
Yeah.
The revenue.
Thank you, Ada. I appreciate that. So a complete overview of the OHV account, how money is allocated across admin, law enforcement, maintenance, trail crew, and special projects. So we have breakdowns coming up. But to give you some references, this is the actual revenue that came into accounts from 2023 to 2025. So you can see kind of where the fundings come from, how much it's totaled. And as you can see, it's been pretty consistent across the board, totaling out to about $12 million. And then what the fund balance is, so what the funding's been used on, which we will go into in the next slides for fiscal year 2025. And I would also like to state that fiscal year 2025 was from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. So fiscal year 2025 for the state of Utah has ended. We're now in fiscal year 2026. So just keep that in mind when you see some of these numbers. But are there any questions on the actual revenue? Again, we're going to go into the breakdowns in the next slides.
Rachel, I just wanted to make the council aware that, there's a lot of money that comes into the OHV account. If you look up their registration fees, 8 million, and we broke out snowmobiles, they bring in 361. We get money coming in for training. We have an OHV fuel tax. We have coming in there. The snowmobile license plate is no longer there. And also note the out-of-state non-resident fees that come in there, and then the fines and forfeitures from law enforcement.
So what's the fund balance on the bottom of the sheet?
So I believe that those are pretty much like I want to say the ending balance, the fund balance. So after the year has been spent out, what that ending balance is. I want to say. Wade, I know you were in the meeting with Yan. Do you have any insight on what that fund balance is?
I really don't. She reported it, but I don't know. I really can't answer that one. I think that 2025 is pretty easy to answer, but I'm shaking my head of why our total of 2024 was 12 million and our fund balance was 20. I don't know the answer to that one.
That would be because of the appropriation for the shop.
Okay.
So
okay.
we had money appropriated too. So that last figure there, so you see 2025 column, it says 8 million. So that amount, that's not, it's a little, it's fuzzy because that's not what's in the account. But if you take what's in the account and subtract everything that's been appropriated and everything that's in our base budget, then it would be 8 million. So it's 8 million that's unappropriated, unspent, and uncommitted for grants and things like that. So as we get closer to our shop project, we'll have a better sense for, and I anticipate, we go into 2026, fund is probably going to stay about the same, maybe dip down a little bit more. And then when we get the building completed, if we're spending less than what was appropriated to us, we'll lapse that money back into the account. And so it'll go back up.
Scott, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I do. The OHV fuel tax, that's state tax funding coming, not federal, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed to.
And a quick little history on it. That's kind of where it all started back in 1986, was with OHV fuel tax. Anyway, we can talk about that later, but that's been there since 1986.
Okay. There's no other questions. I'll move on. Okay. So this is again for fiscal year 2025, which is over now. But this is the breakout for law enforcement. All in all, we were budgeted 3.3 million, but what was spent was 2.2 million. And this is the breakout of what it was spent on. So as you can see, we have wages for summer law enforcement, winter law enforcement. There's some travel, very small for travel, uniforms and PPE, DTS, motor pool, vehicle maintenance, and equipment purchases. Over on the right-hand side, it was for 12 to 13 employees. And then for equipment purchases, it was $81,000 for 6 trailers and 2 KMTs.
What are KMTs?
KTMs. There was 2
Okay.
motorcycles that was purchased.
That's a spelling
Okay.
error. Apologies. It makes sense when I looked it up that nothing came up. Okay.
Okay,
I have
I'm a little dumb. What's DTS costs?
Division or Department of Technology Services?
That's all the tech costs. So buying laptops and the monthly service fee that goes along with having a state computer. The Division of Technology Services charges a fee for every single employee. So that's what the DTS costs are.
And so, what's the difference between a summer law enforcement and a winter law enforcement? Do they get laid off during the what are they doing during the winter if there's fewer law enforcement?
Yeah, so you can see 600,000 for winter wages. So obviously there's less to do as far as OHV patrols. It's going to be snowmobile patrols. So those officers are spending less time charging to our account into winter than they are in the summer, and that's why.
Well, I was just curious. Do they get laid off during the winter or?
Nope,
what?
they're doing other things. And again, this is a unique year because this is fiscal year 25. Most of these individuals were working for state parks, so it is likely that most of the rest of that time was being spent working inside of a state park doing something, but I'm not exactly sure. That'd be my guess. Now next year it's going to look different than that. We want more snowmobile patrols. We want more presence out on the trails. So it'll go up. Their winter LE, both of them will.
Okay. So next is for the shop. So as you can see, it came to a little bit over $600,000. So wages, travel, again, DTS costs, you're going to see that consistently throughout this, unfortunately. Motor pool vehicles, equipment maintenance, and then storage. So just to give you some background and insight is that the shop is partially funded by off-highway vehicle and boating. There's 11 full-time employees, but we just pay the portion related to the work that they do on OHVs. Okay, if there's no questions, I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, for grooming. So this comes over to almost $800,000. It's for wages, equipment, repairs, and fuel. We have an MOU with state parks, and it's my understanding, and I think that we need a little bit more insight on our end, but I believe that the costs include agreements for grooming with UDOT and Fish Lake National Forest. Also here, we do have additional agreements for the OHV program. So kind of our special programs that we have that Wade himself has specific with different agencies and nonprofits.
Rachel, can I just touch on that real quick? That would include my UDOT parking lots. I have with Golden Spike, a warming hut. And with the Fish Lake, I have an agreement with them for winter grooming there. And then we had one in July signed for avalanche forecasting. So there's some other expenses in there that are not on there.
Yeah. And if you do click that link, I have it set up just to share one screen.
Hey, Wade, I didn't understand what you mean by that. This $786,000 it's actually more than that there?
Yeah, it'll be probably around maybe $100,000 a year more. Because I have so I enter into these MOUs that are not part of grants that for instance, like UDOT, I have 2 UDOT MOUs to clear several parking lots throughout the state. I have one, both of them total about $60,000 to $62,000. These are just MOUs that I enter into to help with the winter recreation. So yeah, there are some some other things that go in there.
So that would add up to $900,000 then if there's $120,000 more.
Yeah, because pretty close, because I got a yearly contract with UDOT for snow removal that's over 60,000, and then some other snow removal at Strawberry Reservoir. So that in itself is almost 100,000 a year. And the rest of the agreements I have are multi-year agreements. For instance, the Fish Lake grooming, I have an agreement with the Fish Lake to do grooming in the winter and to do trail cat operation in the summer. So yeah, it is a little bit more than that.
But this is what we spent this past fiscal year. This is what was spent for grooming, towards grooming.
Okay, so that was grooming. The 786 is grooming and $120,000 for cleaning parking lots. Is that what I'm hearing?
That'll be close to this next year. Probably just shy of 100,000 for parking lots.
Okay.
And Wade, you and Jacob both teamed up and done an amazing job just really tracking down how much we've been spending on grooming. We're now entering into year 3 where our average is higher than what snowmobile registrations are providing into the account. And that's, I mean, we really needed to know that. I've kind of suspected it, but great work tracking down the numbers and getting things precise enough to where we're now able to justify a registration increase for snowmobiles.
Yeah, and thanks for leading into that, Jason. I'll just touch on it briefly, real quickly. You know, the snowmobile community, I meet with them monthly, and we've talked about this, and that's why we're going to have an increase in the registration, because they realize that grooming is expensive, and they want to definitely pay their share. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So.
Okay, trail crew. So we spend we spend $400,000 a year on this. So this goes to, again, this is the motorized side portion that we pay. So as you can see, for wages and travel, we're paying a certain amount out of that. So this is for wages, travel, again, DTS cost, estimated current expenses, rent, and vehicles. This is for 22 part-time employees and 7 full-time employees. The OHV program pays just this portion though. So the remaining of that is for the non-motorized side of it, which, as you can see, especially with wages, is substantially higher. Okay.
So Rachel, the trail crews are actually more non-motorized in nature than motorized then?
It's my understanding that they try to split it 50-50, but I believe that the funding, because we have $400,000 that's been allocated over the past few years. Each year has been $400,000. So that's what we pay into it. The remainder of it is paid out through other avenues. Wade or Jason, do you have any more insight on this?
Yeah,
that's good.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, it's important to remember that although only only 400,000 out of the 1.3 comes from the OHV account, that doesn't mean that's the only time that they bill for motorized. The other 900,000 that goes into the trail crew comes from the outdoor adventure account, which is it's not a non-motorized account, it's not a motorized account, it's everything outdoor recreation. So we use that account to pay for a lot of different things recreation wise around the state. 900,000 of it goes towards trail crew. And like Rachel said, we've asked these trail crews to divide their time evenly overall. So we know we're kind of getting 50-50. It's going to be a little bit different from one area to the next. In one region, they might need more motorized one year, and then the next year they might need more non-motorized. What we want them to do, and then what they have been doing, is to work with their local community, the land managers, and see where the need is, and then fill where the need ends up being. So as you know, we've got a plan to kind of expand trail crew going into next year. Hopefully we succeed in that effort, but we try for about half and half.
So Jason, do they actually report back on how much they do on motorized and non-motorized? They actually make a report out?
Oh yeah, every assignment they go out on, they report back a whole bunch of different stats, and we've got a whole dashboard that we publish, and we'll make a note to make sure. And I know we've sent out in the past to this group. We'll send out it again so you can see kind of what the trail crews have been doing and where, and you can look at a map, and it's a pretty cool product that we're able to create with the data they submit.
Jason, I'll at the end of the year when Carly might get their data, I'll send it per region.
It's been, I'll tell you, just sorry, Wade, but it's been a little tough over the last month because of the government shutdown. Doing motorized trail work was almost non-existent because we couldn't get approvals to go do stuff, and people not being in their office was just a reality that we had to deal with. But now that they're back in, we're using November, and you've probably seen some of the buzz around Motovember to try and make sure we meet that half and half goal.
Yeah, and I just dropped the link in there for the trail crew from our website. It looks like their last report was in August 2025. But if you guys would like more information, we can always provide that. I believe probably within our emails that we've kind of been doing, our weekly emails, we can definitely provide some more insight on that.
Yeah, we'll update the one that's on the website because the data's there. We just need to update the static version online, and then when we do that, we can send out a note to let you know.
Yeah.
Scott, just for your information, the trail crew out of Ridgefield has spent the last 2 weeks either on the Manti Forest or on the San Rafael swell. In fact, they were out in Whiskey Wash today working. So They've been working hard in your backyard.
Thank you.
The Northern Utah one's been out on the High Desert Trail. They've been working on motorized projects all month long.
November. Okay. Education. So this is for kind of what Deirdre talked about. We have wages, travel, DTS costs, swag, and then a one-time purchase of a trailer and 2 UTVs. So this is for 2 full-time employees, but the salary is divided between OHV and boating. And again, it was for 2 OHVs, 2 ATVs for education, and a trailer specific to that. Okay, there's no questions. I'm going to move on. For fiscal year 2026, so this is the current year, this is what's been appropriated and authorized for funding. So the first half is like our individuals. So we have the director's office, law enforcement, OHV program, fiscal management and shop. And then further down, we have the grant, trails program, capital, and then one-time shop rebuild. That's that one-time allocation.
Okay.
Okay.
No questions? Good.
I don't think so. So yeah, this is for fiscal year 2026, the employee operational budget. So we have the program manager, 3 education, a lead, a specialist, and they're going to be hiring a new education specialist along with OHV law enforcement, which is Jacob's position. Please keep in mind that these aren't what people make. I wish we all made these. There's other added fees. We all saw like the DTS costs, travel, that's all included into this as well.
Yeah.
And then
Vehicle.
yeah. Later on, you'll see my salary. I wish it was my salary. So they're going to be hiring a new seasonal employee for the Fish Lake National Forest Trail Counter program. And then they're doing a budget request for 2 new heavy equipment operators and 2 new single track trail crews. Is that correct? Trail crews, not.
Yes, the heavy equipment operator is a request through the legislature. The single track crew, we're not quite sure about. It's one of my goals, and we'll see how funding plays out for it.
Okay.
I have a question about the Fish Lake Trail Counter. What are they actually doing?
Yes, Scott, great question. So and I'll be real quick on it. The Fish Lake has a grant, and part of the grant is to pay for an employee to monitor trail counters. There's 69 trail counters on the Fish Lake National Forest. Due to budget cuts and restraints, they cannot hire that person. And the Fish Lake is the leader in trail data gathering. They're the ones that we rely on to show the economic benefit that a trail program has to a county or to a community. They have the data and they gather it yearly. And that data is so important because it really quantifies what's going on. And they're not able to gather it because they don't have the manpower. It's literally, with those 69 counters, they have 12 benchmarkers that never move. And then the rest of them move according to season. So some of them are lower early in the season. They move them higher as the snow melts. So it's just something that the Paiute ATV Trail Committee came to me, and the rec manager came to me and said, we need help to continue to gather in this data because they can't hire anybody to do it. So I want to hire somebody through the OHV program. They'll be working for us, but they'll be assigned to the Fish Lake.
Okay. So again, this is for the OHV recreation grant that I oversee. For fiscal year 2026, there's going to be 4.4 million approximately. And then for fiscal year 2023, admin cost was $163,000. Again, that does not go all in my pocket. But if you guys are curious about what's going in for the administrative cost on that end, that is how much goes towards it. Okay. For fiscal year 2026 for the trail crew, it looks like they're intending to hire one additional full-time employee, but they'll still have ideally those 22 seasonal employees. But these numbers appear to be subject to change based off of if Wade is able to get his heavy equipment trail crew and single track. Okay.
I do have a question before you go on, Rachel. If Wade was talking about single track trail crews, I would think that you just couldn't hire somebody off the street to work single track trail crews. You'd have to find a dedicated rider to be able to do that. Am I thinking right, Wade? I would think we'd have problems unless you had somebody that could ride a bike.
Yes, it would be a very specific skill set. It would be like hiring an operator of a Mini X or a dozer, and you'd really have to. You would be surprised on the people that would do this. They're out there, but in my opinion, the likelihood of this happening this year is probably pretty unlikely with the budget. My focus is on the two heavy equipment operators. And if that can happen, then we would go after some motorcycle guys. But yeah, there you would have to definitely have some skilled people.
I would love to see those interviews and what they entail.
It would be a skills test interview.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like Jacob and Sheriff Curtis as part of the trail crew back in '97. I love that.
I just had something as Scott, if you want to get your resume ready, we'll be ready for you next year.
Yes.
You got to prove your skill sets. I'm not going to just take Wade's word for it, okay?
So I thought I had to take a new OHV test to make sure that I'm able to go ride my bike.
Well, I think, Scott, I am behind you on that picture. So I think I was there that day.
Okay.
Okay. All right. How much funding is being spent on each group? So just to give you a little breakdown. So we go through the grants, SAR, and then we break it out a little bit further for the snowmobile side of it for grooming and parking lots. So I would really like to refine these numbers a little bit more. We have better and more accurate, but again, this is based off of fiscal year 2025 is how much funding is being spent for each group. Okay. How much money is received from each group? These are estimated revenue based off of the machines. We got these numbers from this website. It's tax.utah.gov/registrations. That's some other words in there. You can actually see these numbers. This is where we pull all this data. You can see the historic numbers, I believe, honestly, since like early 2000s. So you can see that progression throughout the years based off of what you pick. So again, this is for the estimated revenue and the estimated total for each group. And then down at the bottom, we also broke it out for state trust lands because for each OHV registration dollar, we pay $1.50. $1.50 of it goes towards the state trust lands.
Hey, Rachel, I have a question for you. It's showing in here street legal ATVs, UTVs. The same, I'm not seeing that on the motorcycles because a lot of dirt bikes are registered as a a street legal machine also. Is there a breakout on that also?
I can jump in on that. There is not. They are considered to be a street legal vehicle. Where an ATV is a street legal ATV, there is some legislation this last year that does classify a street legal off-highway motorcycle. But I just got information back from the tax commission today. There's only been 6 registered. So basically they take a dirt bike. These people have just bought them. The dealer has made a dirt bike street legal and they register them as a street legal off-highway motorcycle. The tax commission today told me that when you go register your bike, if it's a street legal off-highway motorcycle, you can choose to register it as either a street legal motorcycle or a street legal off-highway motorcycle. So right now we don't have that data because there's only been 6 of them registered this year.
So is the cost the same?
No, it is a lot cheaper to register your motorcycle as an off-highway vehicle, off-highway motorcycle than it is as a street legal motorcycle. It falls under the same funding, the same assessment as a street legal ATV. So it's definitely cheaper. And not only is it cheaper for the user, but if you do it that way, we get more money into the program. So it's cheaper for you to do it that way, and we get more money into the OHV program, because the street legal off-highway motorcycles that are just street legal, we don't get any money off of that. For instance, I have 2 of them that are that way, and not a dime of those comes into the program. But when I register them this next year, I'm going to register them as off-highway motorcycles, street legal.
Sounds like you need to get the word out, Scott.
Yeah, tell all your friends, Scott.
Well, I'll bring this up real quick. You notice that other education specialist, that's another responsibility that Deirdre would like to do and that the program would like to do that we currently just don't have capacity. And that is reaching out to some of these dealers and educating them on how to properly sell and license and direct people the right way. Anything from these new electric motorcycles right down to this topic that we're on right now.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that, for example, I have one that's a dirt bike that's registered street legal, but I drive it on the roads. I mean, I just around town and stuff. I would hate to lose that ability to drive it down the road, and I use it to drive it down the road, and then I hop off and go ride it trail riding. I'll take off and wind up in Green River or ride on a little bit of blacktop and then back on dirt. There almost needs to be a mechanism there somehow to say, hey, we're going to take a portion of this, because I'm sure I'm not wearing the road out very much with my dirt bike as I drive down it. I'm using it probably more off-road than I am on-road.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. We're almost out of time for this section, so I'm going to breeze through these unless there's a lot of questions. How much of the total grant funding is actually hitting the ground? How much is being used for administrative costs or other costs that could be avoided? So I think that this goes back to the past grant with SUU for RTP under motorized. So the over grant does not allow for overhead costs. So pretty much I view all of the funding hitting the ground, right? And then for the grant in question, 13% of what was awarded was for overhead costs.
Do you want me to ask more questions?
I won't say no, but if we can.
Okay, the question I have, and you addressed it one part of it with the grants, the SUU grant, but some of the questions I have is that we'll go out and do a motorized project, but it benefits a non-motorized user is the question I have, and is there a way to show that? Oftentimes we do stuff and it benefits other people, and I'm okay to some extent, but how much is the non-motorized community getting benefited by things we do? Like, let's say we build a parking lot. I realize this is a difficult question to answer, but I would like some thought from the council.
I would like input from the council too, but I think that what the barrier that we've run into is that we would need really, really accurate user data, and then to know how much is being what is being accessed by motorized users versus non-motorized users. I don't think that's something that we're capable of, but at this time, at least.
Scott,
Yeah, I think it's.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead, Wade.
It's a message that as I meet with clubs and as I meet with different speaking assignments, that's a message that I give to everybody, is that we carry the load. And it's by default. It's just the way it is. We carry the load with search and rescue. Sheriff Curtis and I both know that. Our OHVs we get are used for you know, motorized and non-motorized. That's the message I think is more important than actually how many dollars, you know, how much is the non-motorized community benefiting. I think our message that I'm trying to get across is that we carry the load for everybody, and we take care of everybody out there, and it's just who we are. And it's just dealing with public land. And I want people to know that. So when people, you know, get upset because we may cause a little dust or we may have a little noise, well, guess what? You know, we're supporting the search and rescue that comes out and rescues you. We're building the parking lots where you're parked. We're funding for the bathrooms that you're using. We carry the load for a lot of people.
And the other point too with this, Wade, is there is balance, because yes, it's true that there have been OHV projects that have done exactly those types of things you're talking about: parking lots, restrooms, other infrastructure that is not OHV specific. So there's benefits being had by other recreation communities. And on the other side of that coin, our UORG grant and our Outdoor Adventure Commission grant money. It's the same. That money, you know, that is sales tax money, and it is transient room tax money that is doing the exact same thing, kind of on the other side of that coin. So it's a little bit of balance there. But yeah, I do agree it's important for us to maybe have an understanding of that. And our first step is our statewide recreation trends and uses study that we're entering into, and we'll have completed here in a couple of years. That'll be the benchmark that we'll use to maybe help answer some of those questions better with actual real data that we can be confident in.
Okay, Rachel, we have to keep moving.
Okay.
We're almost out of time.
Wait. I have a couple more questions. This is rhetorical. I want you to think about it. You want to know how effective we are. Look down and see over the year how many trails have been open to motorized usage, how many trails have been closed to motorized usage, and how many miles have we been maintaining. I think that would be maybe a way to do some judging, especially on opening and closing trails. So just a thought.
Well,
Cheryl also has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out because I agree with Jason. I think in the years that I've been personally applying for grants, this is the most robust grant program the state has ever had. And as people who apply for grants, there's pretty much opportunities for every different kind of use. And so I feel like for people putting in for grants, you can be more specific that this is a much more heavily motorized grant, or this is an RTP or RRI non-motorized grant, right? Like, or a developed recreation grant or a boating grant, or they've got a city parks grant now. Like their suite of grants now covers, I just feel like, so much of a broader range of recreation opportunities in the state that I feel like, at least when I apply, that we aren't leaning solely on like motorized funding as much as we were in the past. So I just wanted to share that from someone that not only is on these councils, but also someone that actively applies to multiple Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation grants. They've done a phenomenal job of putting money across the huge spectrum of recreation in the state of Utah.
thank you. Okay. All right. How much is the non-motorized community benefiting from motorized grant fundings? How much RTP funding was returned last year? So I think that this one was in question because generally in the past, historically, RTP was split down the middle. 50% of what we had would go to motorized, 50% would go to non-motorized. The direction that we have to follow is 30% needs to be motorized, 40% needs to be for diverse use, and 30% needs to be for non-motorized. The one in question that you guys are really asking is that motorized awarded a little bit under $500,000, but the request amount was, we had the ability to award additional to that. There would have been a leftover amount of $530,000, which was not utilized and therefore went to the non-motorized community and was able to be funded through the grants that way. So all in all, in 2025, we had a little bit over $2 million. A little bit under $500,000 of it was utilized for motorized, and the remaining amount of it was utilized for non-motorized. So ultimately, if we don't receive enough grants for RTP under motorized, whatever that amount is, over 50% goes to the non-motorized committee.
So Rachel, as a council, I would encourage you with your communities, find ways to utilize all of those RTP funds.
Mhm.
We can do better at getting that money out.
Yeah, agreed. And we've been presenting on them, motorized and non-motorized throughout the state this past week. So, and we'll be doing it in the northern region as well to promote RTP motorized and non-motorized as well in the month of December. Okay. So I believe we need a year-end program evaluation and set goals for next year and include the whole council on these discussions. This is something that we've heard from you guys, and we're hoping that we're going to start doing this, but we wanted to kind of bring it back to you guys. I know, again, we have very limited time, but if you have any input on this, what you, in addition to this, you'd like to see, let us know. Wade, I know we've discussed maybe doing this yearly in August once the fiscal year ends.
Yes, if the council, if this has been helpful to kind of give a map where the money's going, I think it's something that we could accommodate doing it once a year after the fiscal year closes. We need to give a couple months for all the bills to circulate. And maybe this time next year, we can have the same discussion. And as we do this, our data gets better, right? It does. The numbers get more solid. We're going to get better at gathering the data. So if you guys would like this, it would definitely something that Rachel and I could do again next year with, if Jason's okay with it.
Okay. Got 2 more slides. Okay, the list of OHV recreation grants that are not completed. So there's a link. I'm not going to go to them right now, but it's linked to incomplete grants. So grants that haven't expired, but they're not finished currently. There was a request to do updates on those. I think that's something that we can easily do. We've also added the list of assets purchased. This is not 100%. It still involves a little bit more administrative side going back and getting numbers in the past. We've really only started tracking assets over the past year and a half. But I just wanted to give a really quick overview that we've awarded 419 projects. 36 of those have been canceled. There's 137 that are open and 246 that are closed.
Rachel, just real quick, if any of you, I know sometimes you get a grant that's assigned to you, you look at it, you're evaluating it, you're making recommendations to the rest of the council. If at any time, if any of you want to have a follow-up, Maureen's on here with us, all you need to do is send her a quick email and she'd be more than glad to tell you what the balance is and how they're progressing on that. It's not a problem for her. She can gather that data. She's really good at those, and she would be more than glad to follow up if you guys have a specific question on a grant.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if there are additional kind of reports you would like to see regarding grants, not to just put more workload on Maureen, but she's our little guru in addition to contracts. So if there's any other reporting that you'd like to see, we could definitely do that. It's very easy for us to pull reports within Salesforce. Again, that does go back to fiscal year 2023. Prior to that, we didn't really have a great tracking. So again, it's going to be more recent stats that we'll be having more accurate information on. Okay, last slide. Okay, if there's been any grant clawbacks and what's that process? Since 2020, the division has only had to claw back funding once. So there's been approximately 150 applicants, and out of that, we've only done it to 1. It wasn't the full funding. It was just, we worked with them, they paid us back a certain amount, and they've continued on with their projects. And then for the monitoring process for grants, on-site virtual and reporting, we've delayed hiring a full-time compliance role. That was due to me traveling and holidays and stuff. I have a meeting tomorrow. I believe that it's honestly ready to go. We just need to post it, but I need just clarity on that. So we're hoping that monitoring process for on-site virtual reporting, those kind of things, we'll be hiring someone full-time that'll be working under me, but also assisting Wade where necessary for grant reporting and on-site site visits and stuff. Okay, that is all I have. So I'm going to stop presenting.
Rachel, thank you. thank you, thank you, thank you. These are questions, Jason, they're questions I've had for quite a while. You must have had to do a lot of digging, so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, Rachel, excellent job. And Wade and Jacob, I know the three of you have been working hard on this. Really good stuff. We want you guys to be informed. We appreciate what you do. And also just the interest that you want to dig in and you want to be useful. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And just so you know too, we had a year ago, we started hearing that there was a legislative audit and it didn't happen. And now it's back on, the conversation's back, and it looks like we're going to have a legislative audit, which a lot audits are kind of a pain in the neck just because it creates a lot of work, but they do help clarify things and bring some really much needed fact finding to some of the questions you have to give even better answers. So that's coming soon in the legislative session.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the 2026 expectations. Is this Wade or Rachel?
It's me. So just really quick, we talked about being able to report back to you again in maybe August, September, November of next year, kind of that fall season, doing this again. And if you guys have any goals or anything like that you want to float around, let me know, and I can kind of get it out to the council through our group email. But if you guys have any specific goals that we would like to discuss, please let me know. I think this is a good step in the right direction on all this reporting that we've done, and I too am very grateful for it. I sat on the council for 8 years myself, and this last little bit, there's been a ton of hours put into this. Has been very educational for myself too. And real quick, I just wanted to shout out December 2nd, we have a public meeting. As I mentioned, the snowmobile community fully supports this. They have agreed to currently they pay $22 for their registration fee. The maximum by statute we can collect is $26, and they have agreed to allow us to move forward with collecting $26 to help offset some of that snowmobile grooming costs. Also, the non-residents, they're currently paying $30, and this public meeting will address raising them to $35, so that they're paying the same as a resident, because a non-resident can actually get a cheaper yearly registration than a resident can. So now it's all on an equal board. So that will help offset some of those fees as well. So there will be a hearing. You can do it virtually or in person. It'll be on December 2nd at 2:00. And that's all I got.
Okay, thanks, Wade. Do we have any members of the public still present on this meeting that want to make a comment?
So we do. And I want to call on Paul for AV because, it looks like, Paul, I'm not sure the best way to do this. I know we're a little new to having it where there's contributors and then viewers. Do you recommend making the individuals that raise their hands contributors?
Yes, Chairman, if it would be agreeable, I would suggest the members of the public interested in making a comment to raise their hand. They will appear in the participant list. We can make them a contributor and take them in the order that the hands are raised.
Okay. So,
Okay. Yeah, if that's the case, for members of the public, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we'll look at whoever's got their hand raised. We'll allow them in and allow them to make comment. So looks like Cliff, you're up first.
Okay, thank you to everyone for their service as volunteers on the council and also the staff. I've been seeing a lot of you recently, like at the Novak annual conference, and also past couple weeks with the trail crew based in Moab here. Wanted to point out, as a former council member, in 2019, we requested this sort of presentation with the budget and the actuals. and the state parks people did that once in 2020 or 21. But then there was so much that needed to be done with the new division of recreation and then eventually outdoor recreation. Pitt Gruey and others, just it was on the sidelines. Thank you guys for bringing it back, Wade and Jason, and this was very informative. Wanted to point out whether these OHV restricted account funds are dedicated or not dedicated, whether there's something that Jason ultimately decides on or the legislature. It's always been my understanding that the council is welcome to advise, and then the division director or the legislature, they're welcome to do the opposite of that advice, but they should consider your advice, which depends on you actually giving them advice. And so like one example is the law enforcement spending. I look back, so prior to HB 143, which brought the revenue up like by 50%, I think, the law enforcement spending of the OHV restricted account revenue was 15%. So we're going back to like 2014 was the first year I looked. But if you then go to 2018, when this injection of HB 143 funds came in, which were more for infrastructure, and that created FIG and what eventually got called the OHV Recreation Grant. It's actually 10% of that larger pot that was going to law enforcement. Again, the same amount of money at 2014, 2018, but so in the post HB 143 world, it's 10% of the OHV restricted account revenue that's going to law enforcement. That did ramp up in 2023. It was 12%. In 2024, it was 16%. In 2025, it was budgeted to be 26%, but then it actually wound up being 17%. Still, that's 7% more, almost double what it had been for many years. And the fact is, there isn't a right answer objectively what it should be, but it should be weighed against the other priorities that you have, like trail work and things that directly benefit the users. And so, you know, I just hope that you continue looking at that stuff with the staff's help, weigh in so that the director, the legislature can make informed decisions. And but again, that said, this was an incredible meeting, and look forward to future years, and you know, keep the momentum that you guys have created going. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff. We'll go to Brett.
Thank you. Couple questions here. So I've talked to Jason, and he shared with me that he's the one that creates the budget and the spreadsheet to take appropriations to the legislature. I'm asking if he would be willing to share that with the advisory council before that goes to legislation, because in the past there's been a lot of adoption and approvals of appropriations, and nobody knew about it. So that's something I would hope that he would be willing to share with advisory council. The other thing is in the presentation that Rachel said, we receive into the restricted account about $9 million. Isn't that correct, Rachel?
For registrations, yes, approximately.
Registrations are everything, gas tax, the whole works. Everything goes into there at about $9 million. Jason testified in committee that this OHV program brings in $10 to $14 million a year. And so that's a, you know, $5 million gap. Where's that at? That's a good question. You don't need to answer that now.
Well, Rachel, did you just say yes, that 9 million is what we receive into the account?
So that is based off of the estimated revenue by machine. So that is not including the additional tax that he's talking about. This is just based off of how many registrations we have.
I think it's total revenue that the restricted account receives each year.
Which is about, has been about 12.5 million.
It's about 12.5 million, because it's about 8,400,000 for OHVs, another 360,000 with snowmobiles. Then you have the OHV safety, 2 million in fuel tax, and the out-of-state registrations.
What does that total up to?
12.6 for 2025.
Okay, and then when Jason testified in the appropriations meeting last year, it was 10 to 14 million. I mean, that's several $1,000,000 difference. I think that needs to be not such a gap. We need to know exactly where every dollar is. And to see that
Yeah,
3
that's on
Go ahead.
average. That's just that was just an average. Yeah, yeah. Between 10 million and 14 million is kind of an average over time over the last 5 or so years, roughly. But yeah, we this year about 12 and a half, which is between 10 and 15.
Okay. And then I see that in law enforcement, we're spending $3.8 million. That's more than all trail crews, everybody put together. And we're spending 3.8 million for law enforcement. That's just another question. I'm just kind of raising my hand. You don't have to answer it right now, but that is way lopsided, in my opinion. If we can't even afford more trail crews, but yet we're spending $3.8 million on law enforcement, something isn't right. So when you talk about another legislative audit, maybe those answers will come out. But to me, it seems very lopsided, Jason. So anyway, with that, I really appreciate the advisory council, what they're doing. It's fantastic. And I don't mean to be a troublemaker, but I like true facts. And I'm glad to see that it's getting a little bit more transparent. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Michael, we've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Michael I'm president of the Top of Utah Snowmobile Association. And we talked about the increase of fees from $22 for registration to $26. And I wonder on those amounts, there's $16.50 that comes actually over to recreation. And with that increase, does that mean that $4 will come with that so that it's 20.5?
Yes, that's the intent on it, that $4, because the upfront that they take out for all OHVs, that doesn't change regardless if it's 35 or 26. That's going to give us $4 more to put back into the program.
Okay.
And I know you guys have said, yeah, hey, we support it, but we want to kind of see it go into grooming to help offset that cost. And that's one thing I appreciate the snowmobile community that they stepped up, really without hesitation. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get some more money into the program.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Michael. Steve, your hand is up.
There we go. Thank you all. My name's Steve Block. I'm the legal director with the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance in Salt Lake City. And I just wanted to say hello and good evening. And that thanks to Rachel and Wade for clearing it so we could listen in on this. Found the conversation tonight really helpful, and those facts and figures certainly useful. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have anybody else from the public?
Hey, Jason, can I
Yes.
say something just really quickly? If you just add it in your head, $4 million that goes into grant funding, and we start off with 12 million, 30%, 1/3 of it's hitting the ground that we get in. It's 1/3, with 33% hitting the ground. If we hit it at 100% efficiency as it hits the ground. So is that a good number?
Well, and we've got to consider the amount from the trail crew too. That's going directly to the ground.
That's true. You're right. You're right. And so you're correct on that.
Okay. All right, Sheriff Curtis.
Hey, real quick, I was thinking about the law enforcement question. How much of that was with the combination of state parks plus the recreation rangers and all them? When they kind of lumped them all into one agency, is that where that fund is? Is that why that amount's so much bigger? Okay.
It is. And please keep in mind, a budgeted amount doesn't mean that's what we spend.
Yeah.
It's not like we're handing over that amount of money to the Division of Law Enforcement and they get to do what they want with it. They have to show us the receipts. If they haven't shown that they've been out on the trail doing the work that we need them to do, then they can't charge that amount. We're not going to pay them that amount. But yeah, you're right. When state parks rangers and recreation rangers all went into one agency, state parks division, they way overestimated the amount of money they were going to put into law enforcement. And so we were forced to kind of come up with the difference. And that it's not a decision that was easy to make, and not something that it was either that or we're laying a bunch of people off. We want them to be out there doing this work on the trails. Hopefully that's what the advisory council would advise us to do with some of that money. There's been some questions about how much of it, and I'm open to listening to the public comment and the advisory council's advice on what that should be, so that we're doing the right thing by the public. But it's keeping folks safe and maintaining law and order out there in the backcountry is very difficult. And the Division of Law Enforcement is the ones that are doing that. But at the end of the day, we got to have public support for it.
Thank you. I was just wondering if that merge made a big difference.
It made a huge difference. Absolutely. It's a good question. That's where the increase came from. It's not like we hired a bunch of new people, but the way things were shifted around, the legislature did the shifting around. We didn't. They created the Division of Law Enforcement. And so now we're doing what we have to do to make that legislative mandate work from a funding perspective. So that's kind of where we're at now. And so now we need to make sure we chart our course properly into the future.
So is that something that we're fighting to, recoup with the next fiscal year, with the current or with the upcoming legislative session? What are the plans that way?
Well, the legislature is the one that determines what kind of money we get. So if the legislature were to meet our request and then provide general fund to support the Division of Law Enforcement, that'd be great. Then we'd retain these OHV funds and we wouldn't be forced to use them for Division of Law Enforcement. But at the end of the day, they're doing our work. So I guess the answer to your question, there's not really a fight there necessarily, but it's a battle of the budgets. We tried to make the case 2 years ago that general fund ought to come into play and fund Division Law Enforcement. And unfortunately, that's not the way legislative leadership saw it.
Okay. Let's see, we're coming to the end of our meeting here. We're a little over 20 minutes over. So it looks like, Brett, you've got your hand raised, but please be brief with your comment, and then I think we need to get wrapped up here. So
I'll be brief, and I appreciate it. And I just wanted to give everybody a heads up, because not many people know what goes on out in the field. The advisory council knows more than most, but we had an incident down on the Flint Trail. It's a 100% legal right-of-way. I asked Jacob if he'd like to participate in coming out and helping bust the vandals. And he was all excited about it. 2 weeks before we went out, I asked the sheriff, because Plitco asked me to get a case number. And so the sheriff come out with us. I invited Jacob and I gave him the date. He accepted that would work. And then when it came time to give him the time we were meeting, just so that they decided that they did not want to get involved. So is that law enforcement? That's a good question for everybody to look at. They don't want to get involved. Now, maybe Jacob can answer that. It's 100% legal right away, but they didn't want to get involved. And so that's just something that triggered a legislative audit that's going to go on. And with this $3.8 million, my opinion, could be spent in a different way, and that's with the sheriff department. So that's the direction that it's going. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because I think you should know that. So with that, I'm out. Thank you.
okay. At this point, we thank everybody for attending and participating in this meeting. We can now entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Brody. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it. This is Mike.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.